Hi everyone, welcome back to Coding Ninjas. I am Rubreen Kaur, and today we'll be discussing what all you need to learn in order to become a full stack web developer in 2022. So I hope I am audible, guys. If I am, just please quickly tell in the chat. And yeah, let me in the meanwhile open all the necessary slides. So Okay, great guys. Guys, the link of the whimsical I'll be using, the mind map, is given in the description and also in the chat box. So if you want, you can click and go through the mind map while attending the live session and even after. So before going on, I am Rubreen Kaur and I'm just giving a short intro. So I am Rubreen Kaur. I am currently working as a support engineer intern here at Amazon. Apart from that, I am working as a content creator uh, here at Coding Ninjas. So guys, please, we are really working real hard to give you the best content on our channel. So do like, share the video with your friends, and do subscribe to the channel. We are soon to hit 300K. So yeah, good evening all. Okay, let's begin with the stream. I hope the mind map is clear and is visible to all of you. What I can do is I can zoom in up so it's more clear. Guys, anyone from any background can become a web developer. All you need is the required skill set for that. So you don't have to ask again and again ki if I'm not from a technical background, will I be able to crack a company or not? It's just upon your skills, not it's not anything else. So the main reason is for all those who are interested to become a full stack web developer, this in this live session we will be discussing what are the necessary requirements and what all you need to learn in order to become a full stack web developer. So yeah, okay. So let's begin with the session. Now, guys, before moving on, भाई कि learn क्या करें to in order to become a full stack developer. Let's like question ourselves कि what is full stack development. Most people, all they know about full stack development is front end and back end. When they come together, this is known as full stack development. It's not that easy. uh, the first and foremost task when we're creating a product is its design development. So UI UX developer, and this is one of the main part of the project. Apart from that, we are now in an era where DevOps ki there is a very great need, and if someone is becoming a DevOps engineer, their tasks are necessary. They need to deploy the code, maintain the code repositories, and they often tend to use data science in order to work with the user data. So इसके बारे में मोर डिटेल में बात करेंगे कि हम क्या टेक स्टैक प्रेफर कर सकते हैं अगर हम डेवऑप्स में जाना चाहते हैं तो अगर आप फुल स्टैक वेब डेवलपमेंट की बात करते हो तो बिकमिंग अ फुल स्टैक वेब डेवलपर इज ऑब्वियसली अ वेरी डॉन्टिंग टास्क मतलब especially if you're very new to coding. अगर आप beginner हो तो it's better to explore all these technologies for a while and then try to become a full stack web developer, because there are a lot of languages, frameworks, libraries, and databases which are required in order to become a full stack web developer. So in order to become a full stack web developer, ऐसा नहीं है कि all you need is the front end and the back end part. Front and back end part में there are a lot of languages which are required, a lot of frameworks that we need to consider, a lot of libraries, API requests, and we need to know about कि REST APIs से हम data कैसे procure करते हैं, the databases, how do we connect databases to a front end developer app. तो ये सारी चीजें वी शुड नो एज अ फुल स्टैक वेब डेवलपर. इन सबको एक लिस्ट ऑफ टूल्स कहा जाता है फुल स्टैक वेब डेवलपमेंट का. And the easiest way that you can become a full stack developer is to create a roadmap for your own. तो अगर as I am a merge stack web development, तो मेरे को पता है कि React JS की कौन सी लाइब्रेरीज क्या कब करनी है. अगर मैंने कर रखी है तो React में हमेशा नए अपडेट आते रहते हैं, हमेशा नई लैंग्वेजेस आती रहती है. There is one of the language which Vercel is working upon, that is Sapper. तो अभी तक सैपर का इतना ट्रेंड नहीं आया है दो, बट सैपर इज ऑल्सो देयर एज अ लैंग्वेज, एज अ फ्रेमवर्क आई से. तो विच वी आर नॉट अवेयर ऑफ दैट मच. हम ज्यादा से ज्यादा व्हाट पीपल यूज इज नेक्स्ट जेएस, दैट्स इट. रिएक्ट जेएस का हम ज्यादा से ज्यादा नेक्स्ट जेएस तक फ्रेमवर्क यूज करते हैं, बट इसके आगे हमने खुद अभी तक एक्सप्लोर नहीं करे कि क्या क्या टेक्नोलॉजीज हमारे पास है. एंड ये सारी टेक्नोलॉजीज हमेशा इवॉल्व करती रहती हैं, नए नए अपडेट्स आते रहते हैं. सो एज अ डेवलपर आप किसी भी फील्ड में जाओ, चाहे वो मोबाइल डेवलपमेंट हो चाहे वो वेब डेवलपमेंट हो, हमें हमेशा ऑन स्पॉट क्या टेक चल रहा है उसकी नॉलेज होनी चाहिए कि वो टेक किस यूज में आ रहा है, क्या पर्पस है उसका. We should know this कि if someone cross questions us, or if there is a project requirement in the company you are working upon, so you should know at least few of the tech stack which are trending. And the roadmap for you is the best way that you can kickstart your journey to become a full stack web developer. And your objective should be as a beginner to learn the bare minimum skill set, जहाँ पे आपको ज्यादा effort नहीं मारना पड़ रहा, जो आपको willingly आप करना चाहते हो. Do not look out for people कि you know uh, yeah, my friend is working upon this technology, so I should also follow that only. It could be the case that you're not interested in that. It could be the case that you are much better as some other programmer in other language or other framework than that. So always explore what all tech stack you have, what all frameworks there are. And coming to the scope of full stack developer, अब imagine कि अगर किसी कंपनी को हायरिंग करनी है, तो rather than going with different fields, वो एक आप फ्रंट एंड डेवलपर लें, वो एक यूआई यूएक्स डिजाइनर लें, देन वो बैक एंड डेवलपर लें, डेवऑप्स लें. अगर उनको सारा पैकेज एक ही फील्ड में मिल रहा है, एक ही बंदे के पास मिल रहा है, why would they go and fetch 5 other people to do that particular task? So always question कि आपको क्या करना है. Obviously full stack development is a very very difficult task. काफी मुश्किल है फुल स्टैक डेवलपर बनना, बिकॉज आपको सारे फ्रेमवर्क्स की नॉलेज होनी चाहिए. देयर शुड बी एनीथिंग यू लैकिंग इन, बिकॉज at the end you have to create the products and give it to the market. Again, let's come back to the mind map here. तो फुल स्टैक वेब डेवलपमेंट में एज यू कैन सी 4 हमारे पास मेजर फील्ड्स है. यूआई यूएक्स डेवलपमेंट, यू हैव फ्रंट एंड डेवलपमेंट, बैक एंड डेवलपमेंट एंड ऑप्स एंड डेटा. तो इसको हम डेवऑप्स कहते हैं, डेवलपमेंट एंड जब ऑपरेशंस हमारे पास साथ में आ जाते हैं, इसको हम डेवऑप्स कहते हैं. डेवऑप्स की अगर आपने देखा है तो रिसेंट ईयर्स में काफी ज्यादा हायरिंग होने लग गई है, एंड अलग से अब फील्ड बन चुकी है डेवऑप्स की. नहीं तो पहले क्या होता था, पहले फुल स्टैक डेवलपर्स हायर किए जाते थे जिनसे ये सारा काम कंपनीज ले लेती थी. अब इसकी टेंडेंसी कम हो गई है, बिकॉज अब कंपनीज इंडिविजुअल टास्क देना शुरू कर दिया है. तो यूआई यूएक्स डेवलपर का क्या काम है कि उसको एक यूजर फ्रेंडली और अट्रैक्टिव मॉडल बनाना है, ताकि मोर एंड मोर यूजर्स आर प्रोन टू यूज दैट मॉडल. अब व्हाई इज दिस सो नेसेसरी, यूआई यूएक्स डिजाइनर की क्या रोल है, इसका क्या हमारे पास इस यूआई यूएक्स डिजाइनर बनने का क्या फायदा है, if UI UX designer is for you, ये सब explore करना is a small task that you have to do for yourself. But हाँ, I would tell you कि UI UX designer का रोल क्या होता है एंड वो करते क्या है. बेसिकली वो कस्टमर एनहांसमेंट देखते हैं कि हमारा जो प्रोडक्ट है, uh, if our product is feasible enough and if it can be presented in front of the user कि वो more and more क्लिक्स करने के लिए रेडी हो. ठीक है. इफ यू सी जोमैटो का, लेट्स टेक एन एग्जांपल. द ऐप जोमैटो इज यूजिंग इज वेरी यूजर फ्रेंडली. वो हमेशा कुछ ना कुछ अपडेट करते रहते हैं, हमेशा यूजर को नए नए पिंग्स देते रहते हैं. द मीम कल्चर द फॉलोइंग इज वेरी यूजर फ्रेंडली एंड वो हमें एज अ यूजर काफी अच्छा लगता है, राइट? यू टेंड टू क्लिक ऑन इट एंड you tend to explore more in the app, and then at the end what happens is you end up ordering something from Zomato. तो ये culture and all this thinking is done by a UI UX developer कि इतना mindset से हम design करें एक product को. And this is a very like classic mindset of people where they say that कि इतनी salary नहीं होती है if we go in UI UX designing, or if we go in other fields कि full stack developer की higher salary है, but इन सब की ऑलमोस्ट सेम सैलरी है. इफ यू टॉक अबाउट, अगर आप किसी अच्छी कंपनी में यूआई यूएक्स डेवलपर हो तो आपकी सैलरी मिनिमम आपको 12 LPA मिल जाएगा. बट या अगेन, अगर आप किसी अच्छी कंपनी में यूआई यूएक्स डेवलपर हो तो ठीक है. सो ऐसा कुछ नहीं है कि आपके पास अपॉर्चुनिटीज नहीं है इस फील्ड में. देयर इज अ लॉट टू यूआई यूएक्स डेवलपमेंट व्हिच वी विल सी. नाउ कमिंग ऑन टू फ्रंट एंड डेवलपमेंट. फ्रंट एंड डेवलपमेंट क्या होता है? फ्रंट एंड डेवलपमेंट में आप एक स्ट्रक्चर क्रिएट कर देते हो अपने प्रोडक्ट का. जस्ट एक स्ट्रक्चर, उसके अंदर कोई फंक्शनल पार्ट नहीं है. अभी जस्ट एक मॉडल क्रिएट हुआ है जो एक प्रोटोटाइप है. यू कैन से दैट इट इज जस्ट अ प्रोटोटाइप ऑफ अ प्रोग्राम. ठीक है. जब वो प्रोटोटाइप आप बना लेते हो, इसमें कौन कौन से टेक स्टैक यूज होते हैं? द क्लासिक बेसिक टेक स्टैक से आप एक फ्रंट एंड डेवलपमेंट का प्रोजेक्ट बना सकते हो. दैट इज HTML CSS जावास्क्रिप्ट. आगे देर आर मोर फ्रेमवर्क्स लाइक रिएक्ट JS, then we have AngularJS, we have jQuery, we have many frameworks of React. ठीक है. Next.js, Vue.js. तो ये, this is a separate topic we'll talk about. Now coming to back-end development. Back-end development क्या करता है? जो आपने structure create किया है उसमें functions डाल देता है. Like it turns the functional component into much scalable application. Now what do you mean by scalable application? If you're not much familiarized with some system design, तो scalable का मतलब है कि अगर if I am on a product, if I'm on a website, तो अगर उसमें ज्यादा number of users आ जाते हैं, तो अगर मेरी वेबसाइट हैंग हो जाती है तो उसका मतलब कि वो एक स्केलेबल वेबसाइट नहीं है. इन ऑर्डर टू मेक माई प्रोडक्ट मोर स्केलेबल, ये सारा काम बैक एंड डेवलपर का होता है कि टू सी कि इफ इट कैन वेयर द मिनिमम अमाउंट ऑफ यूजर्स एंड उस पर कोई इतना ज्यादा लोड नहीं आ रहा. ठीक है. आई होप दिस मच इज अंडरस्टूड. After discussing DevOps, I will take a short quick look in the chat if you have any doubts. So you can keep posting your questions in the chat, and yeah. Okay. So let's come here कि ops and data DevOps क्या होता है. तो DevOps इंजीनियर का मेन काम है कि वो कोड को डिप्लॉय करता है. It maintains the code repositories, and it uses mostly it uses data science to work with the users and its data. तो यहाँ पे हमारे पास मेन टेक स्टैक क्या आता है? The tech stack included here is Linux for operations. Then we have data that is maintained by SQL and other databases. So SQL, MySQL, SQLite, NoSQL uh, भी यूज हो सकता है केसेस में. बट हाँ, these are a few cases and these are how what all a full stack web developer needs to learn. Let's take a dive in what UI UX development is. तो UI UX development में there are four major concepts that you need to keep in mind. The first is the UX documentation. तो आप जो भी टूल यूज कर रहे हो, आप जो भी प्रोडक्ट क्रिएट करना चाहते हो, इट शुड बी हाईली डॉक्यूमेंटेड कि वाई आर यू यूजिंग दिस. आप सारे अपनी डॉक्यूमेंटेशन के कॉन्सेप्ट्स लिखोगे एंड आप डॉक्यूमेंटेशन टूल्स लिखोगे. तो डॉक्यूमेंट का क्या मतलब है यहाँ पे कि हाउ एम आई प्रोटोटाइपिंग दिस प्रोडक्ट. तो जब आप एक प्रोटोटाइप क्रिएट कर रहे हो, आप एक वायर फ्रेम क्रिएट कर रहे हो, तो आप उतनी कोशिश करोगे कि आपका वायर फ्रेम इज मच मोर डिटेल्ड. इट हैज ऑल द डिटेल्स एंड all the enough web amount of information is there so that by just looking at this framework a engineer can understand कि product की need क्या है and it can remotely work upon the coding part. उसको an engineer don't have to waste the time कि if I click on this button I'll have to add this transition. तो माइंड थिंकिंग का जो प्रोसेस है उसको रिड्यूस करने के लिए हम UI UX डेवलपमेंट में सारे पार्ट्स, ये सारे कॉन्सेप्ट्स ऑलरेडी क्लियर कर लेते हैं. ठीक है. देन वी हैव यूएक्स टूल्स. तो यूएक्स टूल्स में हम लाइक आई हैव क्रिएटेड दिस यूआई एंड माइंड मैप. तो हम जो भी फ्लो चार्ट टूल्स यूज करते हैं, हम अडोब यूज करते हैं, हम फोटोशॉप के बहुत सारे अलग अलग फ्रेमवर्क्स यूज करते हैं. हम अडोब के अलावा आई गेस देयर आर मेनी like we use whimsical too, and then people have many their own choices of UI UX development tools. I am not a UI UX developer, so I'm not much aware of these tools. But yeah, there is a very famous tool that people who have MacBook use, and it's free for those. So yeah, तो again हमारे पास आता है UX के principles and design philosophy. तो design philosophy क्या है? We need to understand the human mind as a UI UX developer. हमें एक एक क्लिक करने पे what would be attracted to someone, what would the perfect color scheme of a website or a product, ये सब सोच के करना पड़ता है कि I shouldn't use very loud colors in my uh, application, because if I use loud colors, there might be a chance that someone doesn't like those colors. So always people use kind of minimal amount of colors in their website. If you see, बहुत ज्यादा loud colors नहीं होते, बहुत they try to make it user friendly. वो ऐसे ऐसे colors target करते हैं that are related to what they are showing to the person. वो एज अ यूजर पर्सपेक्टिव सोचना शुरू करते हैं कि व्हाट वुड आई वांट कि मेरे को इस प्रोडक्ट में ये दिखे. So there are the three key perspectives they work upon. They understand their role, they understand the design approach they'll be using for the product, and again the UX pattern. Before moving on with the development part and understanding this, first thing they do is they understand the product. They understand what is going on in the product. They understand what all users this product is tasking. And then they test the solutions. They test what if, what if something goes wrong, what should be going there. They test the tools and they recruit participants. So this is all that is the task of UI UX developer. And आपको ये सीखने के लिए you should have a good knowledge about all the um, applications which are related to design. ठीक है, तो design applications का you should have a good knowledge. Just a second. Okay. Uh, yeah, guys. Let's just look into the chat for a few minutes. So, Okay, so the first question is from Bhavesh Kawali. What to expect at job interview for a junior developer? Okay, so as a junior developer, you would be questioned upon the front end part and the back end part. As for the front end part, it would depend if you're using React. So React के I have given there are a few key topics जो आपको React का पता होना चाहिए. The components, the state and life cycle, event handling hooks, context, ये React router, React hook form, CSS, Axios. So these are a few key topics जो काफी बार questions में आ रखे हैं, interviews में आ रखे हैं. Interviewers tend to ask questions from these. So this is another question. Then आपके projects पे question होंगे कि what all tech stack did you use? How did you try to overcome this problem? Or something like that, and you would be questioned on your projects for sure. Then for the backend part, it depends upon the role, it depends upon what tech stack you are familiar with. So, yeah, you can explore these interview questions on any platform. Just Google this, and you'll get a lot of interview experiences. So how are the opportunities for full stack developer? Full stack developers, fan companies are hiring full stack developer guys. They are hiring for almost all the departments. तो ऐसा कुछ नहीं कि you won't get in a good job या आपके पास opportunities नहीं है. So for the sake of opportunities, you don't have like कि कभी भी आपके पास कम opportunities नहीं रहेंगे अगर आप एक full stack developer हो तो. Is DSA required for web development? I'll say DSA is not required. You would be asked in interviews. Obviously, when your backend part is questioned, they might give you a question, but or not of very hard level, but of medium level. That's it, because they don't want a software engineer. They don't want to work upon those tech stack for daily basis. But yeah, they would question your DSS skills up to a medium level because they do want to know ki, how good you are in the backend part and how confident you are in coding the language you'd be using for backend. So yes, you would DSA is always required. When you're using JavaScript, so DSA plays a key role. JavaScript, where you can easily, people often tend to learn JavaScript and sit in interviews. So you can sit in interviews using JavaScript too. So yeah. Hi, Srikar. No, this course won't help you with the basics of Java. This is just a stream that we are having right now to discuss what all you need in order to become a full stack web developer. So, is advanced no, JavaScript knowledge enough for both front and back end? No, Vinod, obviously for backend, we have to rely on different frameworks, we have to rely on different tech stacks. For front end part, yes, JavaScript is reliable if you have an advanced knowledge of it. But yeah, matlab, why create a static or why create a dynamic website when you can create an web application? So yeah, that's why JavaScript is not used that much in the field of web. But yeah, React.js is. So I'll take questions for a few 5 minutes now. Then I'll go back with the mind map. So, ma'am, I have completed C language and I want to become a full stack dev. So, which language should I learn? Okay, okay, guys, is my audio a bit low? I would speak up if that's the case. Okay, I think it's fine. Okay, great. So, if you have completed C language, you won't be able to get a hold of, backend part using C. So I'd prefer you to shift over Java at least if you can. Or if you are aiming for like full stack development, so it depends on you. As I said, explore the tech stack, explore where you want to go. So these are the coding languages you can use for backend development. You have C hash, you have Java, you have Python, Rust, Go, JavaScript, Ruby, PHP. So इनमें से if you're mastered with just one language, you're good to go. Okay, great. So you have learned Vue.js instead of React.js. Is it okay? Yes, it's completely fine. Vue.js, and अगर आपको shift भी करना है, if you want to make a shift from Vue to React, it's not that difficult. Yes, I agree. Vue is a lot easier to understand than React because उसमें आप internal components बना सकते हो rather than making each and every component uh, in another file. So yeah, I hope I've answered your question. Can you describe the role of Java, Python, and which one you should choose? So, sort of, if you're aiming to become a full stack developer, you can use either Java or Python. Java में you'll have to dig in and you'll have to learn about the Spring Boot, Maven ये सब के बारे में because all we use in Java are these. अगर आपको एक डेवलपर बनना है जावा में obviously you have to. So because अगर आप कोई भी रोल ले रहे हो, अगर आप एक एसडी के रोल में भी जा रहे हो, तो at the end you'll be creating projects using these stacks. So Java में Spring Boot and Maven की, if you have good knowledge, there are many more languages, many more frameworks that we can work upon with Java, but at least these two are must. Again, let's coming to Python. Python is a bit easier than Java. Uh, Python में you can use Django and Flask for the development purposes. And yeah, again it's on you. अगर आपको easy language consider करनी है, तो Python is go from my end. But yeah, if you can do Java, then it's great because companies do prefer Java or Python. Not much, not huge companies, not fan companies, but आप अगर एक minimal level की company target कर रहे हो, तो I'd prefer कि you can, if you could go and learn Java. But हाँ, if you're targeting fan, Java, Python सब एक है, there is no difference. Okay. So how to manage college and learning web dev? Guys, what you can do is आप एक time schedule ready कर सकते हो अपने लिए. I agree since college are offline from now, तो आपको you'll have assignments, you'll have exams. तो उसको करने के लिए आप एक टाइम शेड्यूल बना लो. All you need is a time schedule, time map. चाहिए ही चाहिए टाइम टेबल सबको. So just create a timetable for yourself. आपको जो भी free hours मिल रहे हैं अपने day के, spend at least 2 or 3 hours in creating or learning a new stack, in developing projects, and yeah, you're good to go. Ma'am, is learning Spring Boot worth as compared to Node.js Mern? I am confused. Okay, I knew Mern as a web developer, and all my tasks here in Amazon are related to Spring Boot. So at the end, I had to learn Spring Boot. While I was in the company, I had no idea how to use Spring Boot and all. I was very new when I started, but now I can create a full stack development project using Java and Spring Boot. So it's over time that you learn, and हाँ, Spring Boot is worth it. ऐसा कुछ नहीं कि Spring Boot is not worth it. Are you a student? Yes, I am a student. I am currently in my final year last semester. That's the only reason I'm working as an intern for now. Uh, yeah, so let's get back to the mind map for now. So let's start by discussing कि front end developer को क्या क्या सीखना चाहिए. The first thing is basics, that is HTML, CSS, JavaScript. I don't think I have to introduce this to you. So HTML, CSS, JavaScript, all of these are necessary. So you cannot skip any of those. HTML creates the bones of a website. The CSS adds the styling, and JavaScript adds the functioning. So I think this part is clear. Then we have version control system. Whenever we work as a front-end developer, we tend to use GitHub because Git आपको अपना code push करने देता है in an open source where anyone from anywhere can access that project and can see what you worked upon, can rate your work and can use your work. So Git की you should have a good knowledge because आपको कई बार कुछ एक एप्लीकेशन का पार्ट दे दिया जाता है कि you just have to create this page or something. So उसके लिए you should have a good hold on GitHub कि आपको एटलीस्ट जनरल कमांड्स आती हैं कि आप अपना कोड पुश कर सकते हो, पुल कर सकते हो, नई ब्रांच बना सकते हो एंड उसमें चेंजेस कर सकते हो. सो दिस इज द bare minimal amount of Git you also know as a developer. Then we have CSS preprocessor, SAS, list, PostCS. इन तीनों में से कोई भी एक कर लोगे that is sufficient. You don't have to learn all of these, but हाँ इन तीनों में से कोई भी एक just because आपकी styling अच्छी हो. SAS is trending right now. People are using SAS, and that's the only reason websites are more better in style than they used to be. अगेन फ्रंट एंड डेवलपमेंट का सिर्फ ये रोल नहीं है कि एक प्रोजेक्ट बना के दे दिया. यू शुड बी वेरी मच फेमिलियर विद द कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ वेब सिक्योरिटी. आपका एप्लीकेशन कहीं लैग तो नहीं कर रहा. यू हैव यूज द करेक्ट प्रॉक्सी सर्वर्स, यू हैव यूज द करेक्ट certificate for your project while hosting. So you should be familiar with all these. आपने सही packages use करे हैं Google के hosting के. If you're having some ads in your application, you should be familiar with कि अगर कोई loop नहीं है जहाँ से हमारी application hack हो सके. Okay, so ये सारा काम आता है web security का, जहाँ पे HTTPS course and content security packages पे people focus. Now, coming to managers, NPM and Yarn. If someone has started React or any of the JS frameworks, they would be familiar with NPM and Yarn as keywords. So in दोनों में से we just use either of these. ठीक है, you don't have to use NPM and Yarn simultaneously, or you don't have to learn both of these. All you need to be familiar with any one of among these two would be fine. So अगर आप npm use कर रहे हो node, तो it's fine. You don't have to use yarn. Then we have the BM CSS architecture. So we usually create an architecture for all the styling techniques we've used, and then pursue with the application. So I'll discuss the main points. It's a very deep mind map I've created. So build tool. Build tools में there are two tools. We have task runners and we have the module bundlers. So task runners में we have the npm script, npm start, ये सारी that run the applications. And module bundlers में we have webpack, we have parcel and we have rollup. So यहाँ पे भी any one of these would be fine. आपको सारी learn करने की जरूरत नहीं है. Now this is the main part in the front-end development, that is the JavaScript Key Frameworks. So the one and the most trending one out of these is React.js. So React.js में you have two things, that React as a whole and we have React libraries. So React में आपको क्या क्या आना चाहिए. The main thing you should be familiarized with as a React.js developer is how to use the components, how to use state and props. What are state and props? What is the life cycle? How to use React life cycle? What is event handling? Hooks क्या होती हैं? And context. So these are a few key things that as a front-end developer you should know and you should be familiarized with if you are learning React framework. अब React में libraries होती हैं, हम CSS modules यूज करते हैं React में, Material UI हो गया, हमारे पास Bootstrap हो गया React के लिए, तो there are a lot of CSS modules, Tailwind CSS, that depends upon the developer, उसको कौन सा CSS module आता है and which it is using. I guess this year, a few months back, React has updated React Router. And when we used to use the import React Router statement, it has been changed and modified into something. So you should always keep a track upon key what is the new update in React, because at the end when you're trying to create an application, you get these errors, and as a even a engineer, you won't able to understand why am I getting this error, and you might have to sit back and you have to understand what this new update has launched in this feature and how to use that. So then we have the Redux toolkit and Axios Zest. So these are the few libraries. Again, libraries की आपको knowledge होनी चाहिए, because yeah. Guys, I use React over Angular. I'm not familiar with Angular. I've never tried it. I have used Next.js, I've used Vue.js, and I've used React. And I've used Zapper too. So yes. हाँ. अब JavaScript के अलावा we have TypeScript. ठीक है? It's similar. Now, as I was talking about the CSS framework, so CSS framework may we have Bootstrap, we have materialized CSS, we have Material UI. That is the one that is the most famous one, and all of the developers know Material UI. Tailwind is in boom, matlab it's trending, and CSS frameworks में modern CSS involved, is linked. So modern CSS क्या होता है? When we have styled components, when we have CSS modules and we have styled JSX together, so इसको we call modern CSS. ठीक है? Now, there is server-side rendering. What do you understand by server-side rendering, and why are we concerned about here as a front-end developer? Can anyone tell me in the chat? Like anyone, if you are a front-end developer, so you would be familiar with the fact कि what is server-side rendering, and why as even a front-end engineer, we have to consider server-side rendering. Anyone guys in the chat? Okay, server pushes the pages rather than client eagerly fetching. Yes, you are correct. But इसको हम इसको हम कैसे स्टेट कर सकते हैं कि आजकल सर्वर साइड रेंडरिंग इज अ popular technique, and it is used for creating single side client side single page application on the server, and then we can actually fully render the entire page to the client. So इससे क्या होता है? This is how we are allowing for dynamic components to be served as static HTML markup. And why is this useful? This is useful for SEO, and when we have single page uh, server side rendering application, you don't have, these applications are very fast, and it also benefits the in some situation when we are trying to download a large JavaScript bundle, and it often gets impaired or it often gets interrupted by network errors or network issues. So इस case में a single side rendering application is much better than compared to other applications, because bar bar you don't have to fetch the JS code. Okay, I hope this is understood. And yeah, we connect the server to the front end. Okay, so I see most of you have answered that. Great, that's great. I hope this front end development part was clear. Let's see if there are any more questions in the chat. Okay. Ma'am, how to manage DSA plus web development and which language I use for DSA, C++, Java, Python, or JavaScript, because I use JavaScript in many projects. Can I use JavaScript or any other language for DSA? Guys, you can use JavaScript for DSA, but it's preferred कि if you are not targeting for that high-end companies, जो आपको of you have to inform the recruiter first that you're familiar with this language. That's how they schedule your interviews. So you have to look out for what companies you're targeting as a SD, or if you're looking for as a full stack developer. So you won't have to worry about that much, बिकॉज फुल स्टैक डेवलपर की या फ्रंट एंड डेवलपर बैक एंड डेवलपर की अगर किसी भी रोल के लिए अप्लाई कर रहे हो, तो इफ यू आर यूजिंग जावा स्क्रिप्ट फॉर डीएसए देयर इज नो इशू. ठीक है. बट हाँ, अगर आप एक एच डी रोल के लिए अप्लाई कर रहे हो, तो यू हैव टू कीप द interviewer as well as the recruiter informed कि you're familiar with JavaScript and that's what you'll be using for your technical interviews. Just make sure that the company allows you to do so. उसके अलावा there is no problem in using JavaScript. Okay, is learning AWS useful for full stack developer? If yes, then which modules you suggest? Okay, so AWS learning, I think the best would be the Cloud Guru. I personally have an experience in Cloud Guru and I'm learning from there. So that's my personal choice. If you have some other modules, some other path, it's upon you. But yes, learning cloud is essential, because for a full stack developer, it's essential because when you're working with DevOps, so you should have a knowledge about where your product is being rendered to, what stack you're using to storing your product, and that is all. मतलब cloud में if you're storing data, cloud में if you're uh, launching your deploying your application, then you should have a knowledge about how to use AWS and at least the basic part. DynamoDB connect करना, deploy करना application को. So this is just the basics that you need. So for learning AWS, I use a cloud guru, and it's totally up to you. Wherever you can find good courses, you can do that. So cloud itself is a very vast topic. Companies hire cloud developers, AWS developers, cloud, Google hire Google Cloud developers, Amazon hires cloud practitioner, then we have cloud interns working there too. We have cloud support engineers too. So there are a lot of fields in this tech stack. If you are in cloud, it's in demand right now in the industry. So let's get back to another question. I know only Python. Is it enough to do web development? Apart from Python, if you just learn HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, you're good to go. Django and Flask के बारे में you can slowly start learning about Django, Flask frameworks, and static HTML, CSS, JavaScript. So you can easily create full-fledged projects using these frameworks apart with Python. Okay. Okay. So first of all, SQL and no SQL में फर्क क्या होता है? Let's just show, because I think most of the people have this doubt. SQL are all the relational databases जहाँ पे आप easily relations establish कर सकते हो among the tables using joins. Even though आप NoSQL database, MongoDB and all में भी ये कर सकते हो, not that tough, but वहाँ पे there is not much query involved. The more part is काइंड ऑफ यूआई आपको दे दिया जाता है अगर आप MongoDB अगर किसी ने यूज किया तो इट्स अ वेरी यूजर फ्रेंडली डेटाबेस. If you have used MySQL on the same side, MySQL में there is a lot of query process involved. You have to depend upon the relational queries you pass for joins in order to get the desired result. So it is upon not you as a developer, it is upon what project it has, what project you have in hand. If it is a very large scale project that has interdependencies, that has table interdependencies, that has uh, column interdependencies, you have to fetch data from one table to in order to get into another table, and ऐसे तीन चार tables interlinked है आपस में. So उस case में it is better to use relational databases. Relational databases में there is not MySQL, that is the only option. You have SQLite, you have MariaDB, you have MS SQL, you have Oracle, you have PostgreSQL. इन चार पांच आई गेस छः आई हैव टोल्ड. सो इन छः में से अगर आप किसी दो तीन में भी मास्टर हो, इट इज इनफ. दिस इज अदर रिलेशनल डेटाबेस. आई डोंट थिंक इंडस्ट्री में देयर वुड बी नीड. NoSQL databases में भी there is DynamoDB, as I was telling, there is MongoDB. So I have personally worked upon Mongo and Dynamo. I haven't worked upon Rethink and Couch. I hope I've answered your question. Okay, guys, let's get back and let's just finish this mind map and then we can have a doubt session. So we just covered the front-end development part. Now moving as a back-end developer, what all you need to know as a back-end developer, what is expected out of a back-end developer. Back-end developer should have a good knowledge about what internet is, because again, you are deploying your application over internet. You are creating this application for someone who's using this over internet, or if you're creating a web application, so you should have a good knowledge about key, how is it deployed, what is internet, what all uh, net network related questions you should know. You should have good knowledge about OS, and obviously as a backend you should developer, you should have at least basic knowledge. If you're trying to go into an individual field as a backend developer, it is important that you have a good knowledge about the basic front end part, because then it is easy for you to connect all of the uh, queries they have passed in the REST APIs to, so that you can link the databases together. Now, the first and the foremost thing is to master or learn a coding language. You have all these listed languages that you can use as a backend developer. You have you have C hash, you have Java, you have Python, Rust, Go, JavaScript, Ruby, PHP. Uh, Ruby is almost used in language in projects where data science is involved. जहाँ data analyze करना हो, data analyst usually Ruby पे rely करते हैं. Then we have PHP. PHP was used a lot in the past, but it has slowly, paced down. PHP is not much used in the industry now. I think I missed on Go. Node here, right? Uh, so I'll just add node 2 here. Then we have Java. Java may, if you're connecting your backend, so that means you should have good knowledge about the frameworks that are involved in Java. That is at least Spring Boot and Maven for a beginner. Then we have Python. Python में अलग से frameworks हैं. We have Django and Flask. Rust, Go. Go is a trending language again. काफी demand में है Go. If you are a experienced developer, then the companies are expecting you to have at least the basic or medium level knowledge about Go. Okay. Then, as I said, we have relational databases and we have no SQL databases. No SQL का मतलब ही यही होता है कि आपको कोई query नहीं देनी पड़ रही, आपका कोई SQL involved नहीं है. ठीक है. Whereas in relational databases, all we have are relational queries, all we have SQL queries. In order to fetch something out from the tables, we have to send a command, select star from table name, and ये जस्ट एक बेसिक पार्ट है. बट अगर आपने MongoDB कॉम्पस यूज किया है, सो यू नो कि वहां पे एक बहुत क्लियर स्ट्रक्चर दे देते हैं आपको टेबल का, हाउ योर टेबल इज लुकिंग, यू कैन ऑलवेज सी दैट. So that is the difference between these two databases. It did not depends upon what the project or what the engineer knows. It depends upon what is the scale of the application. ठीक है. How many users are dependent, how many tables are involved, and if there is a lot of interdependencies on different tables. So these are a few key things that you should keep in mind. Then again, as a backend, you should be familiar with creating APIs for authentication, REST APIs for connecting, SOAP APIs, JSON APIs. So at least 3 or 4 you should be familiar with among these. And that is all actually. From a backend developer, you should know the knowledge about basic internet, ki what is the internet, and how does the internet works, what is standard protocols like HTTP and HTTPS, where do we use either of these, what is DNS, the domain name system, what is domain name, what is hosting, how is hosting done, what are browsers and how are they created, how they work. तो ये सब standard जो basic internet के questions हैं, you should be familiar with. And again, as a backend developer, you should be familiar with memory management as a part of OS, input-output management, the basics of POSIX, and process management, how OS work in general, you should have a knowledge about. And as I said, language ka to you should know at least. So version control may again you should have a good knowledge about the usage of Git, how repositories are created, how you can host your application if it is either on the framework like uh, if you're using Next or if you're using Sapper. So we have this framework called Vercel, जहाँ पे we deploy the application. So for a backend developer, you should be familiarized with कैसे applications deploy होनी है. You should be familiarized with what is the key that I need to involve in my code for any, for connecting the database, for connecting the deployed server. So these are a few things. And databases may replication, we should be familiarized with this sharding strategies, the cap theorem, and yeah, that is it. So any questions for the backend part? Any questions, guys? Okay, so I am getting this question again. Ki how important is DSA to start with web development? You should have at least basic or medium level knowledge about DSA. Why so? Because at the end, when you'll be sitting in your interviews, there will be at least 2 to 3 questions that will be asked upon DSA because वो आपकी की प्राइमरी लैंग्वेज टेस्ट करेंगे कि जो आप बैकएंड में यूज कर रहे हो आप किसी भी लैंग्वेज में कर सकते हो जावास्क्रिप्ट Java or C++, whichever is suitable to you, Python. So, yeah. क्यों important है again? Interviews में they do question about this, and you would end up using these actually if you are creating a wide scale project. तो कई बार we use की how to get input from the user में in order to create an application. We do use arrays, we do use lists, we do use priority queues. So this is something that you should be familiarized with if you're working as any kind of developer. ठीक है? Uh, okay, so the link is already shared in the description. If you have missed upon, I'll just share it in the chat again. But yeah, you can just scroll down and the link would be given in the description. Or if not, there is a pinned message here on the chat that has the roadmap create link, and you just have to click on the link given above to explore the roadmap. Okay. Java Web Development Framework सही है या other technologies best हैं? It depends again. If you're working as an SD, then obviously Java Web Development is necessary. Java Web Development frameworks are necessary. But if you're working as a full stack developer, then it depends upon what requirement your company is having. React.js is in trend, so other technologies can do the tasks over there. Should I take computer science classes in 11th class to become a web developer? If you can, yes, you should. And this is a good start to start your career. I started as a developer. I started learning C++ when I was in class 11th. And it was in my course, but I had no knowledge how I was already, matlab, I was a lot into programs, and I was a lot into coding, I was a lot into my computer as a device. I was very intrigued by this. But when I started learning C++, it was like the savior of my class 11th and 12th. So I could always like end up, it's finally C++. I just love doing this. So yeah, it's good if you can start in class 11th. It really does give you a good start. And yeah, yes, Harsh, you can. If you have the good skill set, they really do not care about what educational background you have. If you have any degree, if you're graduated, that's all they care about. But yeah, at least you have to be graduated in order to get into a good company. I have seniors in my company in Amazon who have a BCom, BA degree, and they're working along with me. So BSc degree. तो ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. This is just a myth कि only and only B.Tech students get a chance in tech companies. So it's not that. Okay, I think this is it. So Java versus Node.js, it depends. It's a personal choice. Java is used for, they're both completely different. फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल नोड एंड जावा का आपस में कोई कंपैरिजन नहीं है. uh, जावा के साथ there are different frameworks which are used. Node का we can use Express.js and we can easily create full stack applications. Node is a lot easier than Java. Java में if you're getting in, Java is a bit tedious. आपका कोड काफी लेंथी हो जाएगा if you shift to Java. Code files would be अगर आपने एक स्टैटिक भी प्रोग्राम बनाया, एक स्टैटिक वेब एप्लीकेशन बनाई है जिसमें 3-4 पेजेस हैं, तो expect it to be over 3 or 4 GB. तो कोड बहुत ज़्यादा हैवी हो जाता है when you use Java and Spring Boot because सारे dependencies you have to add. एक React application is much lesser in memory as we compare it to Java. Okay. Hi Wasim. It's no issue if you're from a Tier 3 college. Apply in whatever company you get an opportunity in. Target FANG, apply, and create a good resume first of all. They do not care about the college. They at most they care about कि you don't have any backlogs. ठीक है? So if you are from like there is no issue कि आप Tier 3 college में हो and I'm from a Tier 3 college, but yeah, I can understand that you're from a different state. So to get off-campus placement, just apply to as many as opportunities you can over LinkedIn. Always ask for referrals and create a good network over LinkedIn, create a good profile on LinkedIn. Try to engage in conversation with their seniors, ask them about their interview experience, ask them if they can refer you in their companies. So that is all you can do to get a good off-campus placement. And guys, make sure कि आप जो भी कंपनी टारगेट करो एटलीस्ट उनकी करियर साइट दिन में एक बार जाके विजिट करो ताकि अगर कोई नई अपॉर्चुनिटी आई है तो यू आर अवेयर ऑफ दैट एंड कैन जस्ट you know you can apply as soon as you can. So I hope I answered this. And how to start making new website from non-IT, please guide. Okay, so if you are a new beginner, I have described what all tech stacks you need as a developer. uh, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, these are 3 languages. I know these won't be. So we have HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So as a beginner, just try कि आपको at least ये 3 languages आती हैं. Using these 3 languages, you can create dynamic websites and yeah, you'll be good to go. As a beginner, which one to learn first, Java or JavaScript? Uh, I'd prefer if you start learning with, if you already have a stack of DSA, so you can start with JavaScript. But अगर आपको DSA नहीं आता है, you have no idea about coding, start with Java and then slowly do a shift to JavaScript. Both of these languages are hard, I'll say, not hard, but yeah, थोड़ा mediocre level. You But हाँ shift करने में you will not find it that difficult. हाँ, but don't go with the names कि you have Java and JavaScript तो same ही होंगे, ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं है. What DSA level need to join companies like Amazon and Google, etc. So in order to join companies like Amazon and Google, you should have a level between medium and hard because you can solve medium and hard level questions because companies FANG companies ask these level of questions in their interview. तो medium level के questions तो आएंगे ही आएंगे, एक दो hard level के भी आ सकते हैं. Okay, so yeah, now let's get back and understand the tasks of a DevOps engineer and how you can become one. तो DevOps होता क्या है? DevOps is DevOps engineer का काम is not writing the source code. All they will be doing is they will integrate the database, they will debug the code that is given from the development team, and most of the times they try to automate all these processes. And automation is a key role in DevOps. तो DevOps engineer का मेजर पार्ट ऑटोमेट करने में ही जाता है, चीजें को ऑटोमेट करना. And DevOps engineer should have a good knowledge about at least 4 languages: Node.js, Python, Ruby, या Go. As I said, Go is the most recommended language and it is in trend right now. तो अगर आप थोड़े से भी experienced engineer हो, they would expect you to have a knowledge about Go. Now, DevOps, ठीक है, DevOps में development का इतना रोल नहीं है, because all you're doing is you are integrating their code and you are rendering it to the server, you are uh, deploying their application. So जब आप एक application, जब आप एक product launch कर रहे हो and आपका काम ज्यादातर यही है कि वो एक operating system में कैसे चलेगा, so you should have a good knowledge about operating systems. ठीक है. एंड ऑब्वियसली लिनक्स बेसिक्स. जब ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम की बात आती है तो अ लॉट ऑफ ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम्स में डेवऑप्स को ज्यादातर लिनक्स का ही यूज होता है. ठीक है. एंड यू वुड नीड टू लर्न द कमांड लाइन इन टर्मिनल ऑफ दीज ओएस सो दैट you can actually create and simplify these tasks. And obviously every OS is different. So you have Linux, you have Unix, you have Windows. Linux is the most recommended one. अगर किसी भी रोल के लिए अप्लाई कर रहे हो, other than SD, अगर आप एक नेटवर्क इंजीनियर, एक डेवऑप्स इंजीनियर, एक सिक्योरिटी एनालिस्ट के लिए अप्लाई कर रहे हो, तो लिनक्स कमांड्स तो वो पूछते ही पूछते हैं. ठीक है. दिस इज वन ऑफ द मोस्ट फेमस क्वेश्चन की लिनक्स कमांड्स एंड पीडब्ल्यूडी पाथ कैसे निकालोगे, सिस्टम हैंग हो गया. सो दीज आर फ्यू की क्वेश्चंस जो अगर आप एक क्लाउड इंजीनियर, एक नेटवर्क इंजीनियर, एक डेटा इंजीनियर की तरफ से देखते हो, सो दीज आर द मेन कॉन्सेप्ट जो इसमें पूछते ही पूछते हैं. देन आफ्टर learning about these OS, a few key concepts to learn include we have sockets, we have threads and concurrency. अगर किसी ने भी इंटरव्यू दिया है बैंक में, थ्रेड्स पे क्वेश्चन आता ही आता है. ठीक है. देन वी हैव प्रोसेस मैनेजमेंट. ऑब्वियसली प्रोसेस मैनेजमेंट में भी क्वेश्चन आते हैं कि when is there a deadlock and all. तो ये सब की क्वेश्चंस है. You should know about these, and this is not just for a DevOps engineer, this is for everyone. मतलब एक फैन में अगर आपने दे इंटरव्यूज, तो फ्रॉम पर्सनल एक्सपीरियंस आई ऑलवेज ऑब्जर्व कि प्रोसेस मैनेजमेंट थ्रेड से क्वेश्चंस आते ही आते हैं. हाँ. सो इन द मैप यू कैन सी वी हैव नेटवर्क एंड सिक्योरिटी टू. तो नेटवर्क एंड सिक्योरिटी क्यों चाहिए आपको? एनी वेब एप्लीकेशन you're creating will have to use certain protocols so that it can receive and transfer information from the user. तो this means that कि इसको एक standard protocols follow करने हैं. Right? नेटवर्किंग में स्टैंडर्ड प्रोटोकॉल्स TCP/IP, SSH, SSL, HTTPS, HTTP, इन सब के बारे में you should have a knowledge about. Now, cyber security is a critical skill no matter if you are a DevOps engineer or not. If you are an engineer, cyber security is one of the key things you should be concerned about, because when you're creating an application, even inside an organization, you should be concerned about who all the users would be. How am I, keeping their data safe? Because if you're creating a product for a company, as just for a product-based company too, तब भी users की information are being stored in your system. सो काफी एक रिलायबल सोर्स है. एंड अगर थोड़ा सा भी लैक होता है सिक्योरिटी का, तो देयर कैन बी सिक्योरिटी ब्रीच फ्रॉम योर एप्लीकेशन, एंड दैट कैन टेंड इन द लॉस ऑफ डेटा दैट इज बीइंग स्टोर्ड फ्रॉम देयर यूजर्स. उनके पासवर्ड हो सकते हैं, उनके कंपनी बेस्ड ईमेल्स एंड उनके पासवर्ड हो सकते हैं, तो ऑल द डेटा वुड बी एट रिस्क. इसीलिए नेटवर्क एंड सिक्योरिटी इज अ मस्ट फॉर एनी इंजीनियर. Now you should understand the structure of the code. तभी यहाँ पे there is a point to understand infrastructure of the code. तो structure of the code आपको क्यों पता होना चाहिए? क्योंकि जब आप डिप्लॉय कर रहे हो एप्लीकेशन को, तो नेटवर्क सर्वर्स कितना लोड लेंगे, क्या प्रोसेस है, कैसे डिप्लॉय होगी एप्लीकेशन मेरी कोड के अकॉर्डिंग, दिस शुड बी known to you before you are starting the deploying process. Now you should know key tools about. You can either use GitHub, you can use GitLab, you can use Jenkins. So these are a few tools that you can use to host the application. Okay, I think cloud providers again, your application is being deployed to cloud. So you should have cloud, you should know the cloud design pattern, you should know the availability, the data management, the design and implementation that is required to deploy an application over cloud. Okay, so I hope I have covered all of these, and if there are any doubts, guys, just please feel free to ask. And I think that so this is not containers, this is containers. Okay, so let's just have. Okay, so the key languages which are very important for web development or web design is these. So front-end development में basics HTML, CSS, JavaScript, CSS preprocessors, CSS frameworks, and backend में learn any coding language, उसका framework. If you're using Java, मतलब Spring Boot या Maven. Apart from that, if you're using Python, तो Python में I wait guys, I just add one more now. We have Node.js. तो Node.js में तो it's very easy. Node किया तो Node तभी यूज होता है because it's very easy. But हाँ, companies do prefer Java or Python. तो Python we should have a knowledge about Django, Flask, and जिस भी कंपनी में अप्लाई कर रहे हो, जो भी टेक स्टैक अपने रिज्यूमे में मेंशन कर रहे हो, मेक श्योर उससे रेलेवेंट आपके पास प्रोजेक्ट्स हैं अपने रिज्यूमे में शो करने के लिए. ओके, बिफोर becoming a developer, this is something you should be familiar with. I did BCom degree in coding will make some differences in my growth in IT. No, Ankit, this will not affect your career as in IT. All you need are the skills, that is all that matters. Shrikant, what is your question? I can see in the chat. Can you just please frame here? Ayushman, this is not a course. This is just a path I'm discussing for web development. Anyone can do this course. All you need are the desired skills. As I discussed the tech stack, learn, try learning these, and you'll be good to go. So just start learning these tech stack, and yeah, you can, anyone can do this course. Yes, no matter what amount of gap you have, if you have the desired skills, obviously, if you have this length of gap, they would be expecting some level of coding experience from your end. If not experience, some level of knowledge about coding from your end. So just make sure you are up to the mark from those. You'd be able to crack the IT job. Okay, so this is something most of the people are facing right now since ekdam se our entire course has been shifting to offline again. So online exams they you haven't studied, it's okay. Placement के लिए you have to learn coding. I'll not say learn coding because we don't usually learn coding. We practice coding. So please just practice coding. Start learning with the framework, what you want to do. You don't have enough time, so I prefer if you can work upon, if you are at least familiar with. I'm just posting the link again in the chat for the flow chart. In case just please don't uh, post the questions again and again and spam the chat because it just creates a disturbance. Okay, and it's okay if you haven't studied for placements. It is late now because it's almost the placement season and companies are hiring actively right now. But all you can do is you can try to at least crack the DSA interviews. So DSA के जितने questions हो सकते हैं उतने practice करो. जोन सी company target कर रहे हो उसके interview series देखो कि ये questions आते हैं past में. So I think I can just at least वो वाले questions try करो क्योंकि अगर उससे related question भी आ गया तो आप वो भी कर पाओगे. So yeah. I guess, guys, that's it for today. If you have any further doubts, you can just ping me over LinkedIn. Just search me by the name of Rubleen Kaur. And if you have doubts related to how you can start with as a full stack developer or any kind of related doubts, you can ping me over there. And yeah, that is it from my end for the day. Thank you so much for joining in. Since 48 people are watching, guys, do like the video and yeah, do subscribe to the channel, guys. Okay. Thank you so much for joining in. Have a great day. Bye bye.